My main concern is that we're not going to reach herd immunity because of vaccine hesitancy. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to believe who desperately want the vaccine right now. And they're thinking, oh, well, it's just a small percentage of people who are actually anti-vaxxers. And that's true. There is the anti-science, anti-vaxxer contingent. But I think that there are many more people, millions of people who, for whatever reason, have concerns about the vaccine, who just don't know what's in it for them. And we need to make it clear to them that the vaccine is the ticket back to pre-pandemic life. And the window to do that is really narrowing. I mean, you were mentioning, Chris, about how all these states are reopening. They're reopening at 100%. And we have a very narrow window to tie reopening policy to vaccination status. Because otherwise, if everything is reopened, then what's the carrot going to be? How are we going to incentivize people to actually get the vaccine? So that's why I think the CDC and the Biden administration needs to come out a lot bolder and say, if you're vaccinated, you can do all these things. Here are all these freedoms that you have, because otherwise people are going to go out and enjoy these freedoms anyway. And I fear a situation of coming into the fall where we never reach herd immunity, and then we get hit by the next surge of COVID-19 in the fall, something that we could have prevented if we just got people vaccinated now.
Anti-vaxxers and conspiracy theorists have been slammed for refusing to have the coronavirus vaccine when it becomes available in Australia. While the Prime Minister's accepted it will be hard to make it mandatory, there are increasing calls for there to be consequences for those who refuse the jab. The government has warned it won't rule out strict measures for those who do not comply. It's a hot topic this morning. To discuss it, I'm joined by 7 News political editor Mark Riley and journalist Louise Roberts. Morning to both of you. Mark,
good morning.
Do you think the federal government will follow through on these threats?
Good morning, Nat. Good morning, Louise. I think it probably will. I mean, Scott Morrison yesterday in a couple of interviews said, don't forget I'm the Minister of no jab, no play. And that requirement was brought in by a lot of the states in childcare centres and in schools. So there are things the government can do legally. There's a collision here between the rights of the individual and the rights of the community, but the law has deferred in favour of the community in some celebrated cases. So the government can do something. Maybe, no jab, no job keeper, no jab, no job seeker. Would that work? Who knows? But look, the bigger problem here, though, Nat, is a question of moral and intellectual equivalence. This is what the anti-vaxxers want. They want a debate where their Fruit Loop ideas are given the same elevation as science, and we shouldn't give them that.
Yeah. Are they being un-Australian, Louise? Did it help yesterday with the messaging that, Scott Morrison, did this massive media campaign, and then the company that he was talking about came out and sort of had to clarify a few things and say it was actually a letter of intent, it wasn't actually a deal?
Look, I think the vaccine will go ahead. It's what we've, give or take some of the fine print that obviously has to be ironed out at this point. But it's what we've all been waiting for. I mean, this whole pandemic has been marked by a real feeling of helplessness that we need a vaccine in order to get on with our lives, but also a sense of we're all in this together. That's why we all need to have this vaccine, because in order to get herd immunity, 95% of us need to have it, unless you have a legitimate medical reason not to have the vaccine. And to my mind, that's the only reason why you should refuse it.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other idea that's really important here is the responsibility on big media companies. By that, I mean those big media companies who say they aren't big media companies. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all these social media platforms. When all these nutcase theories are being propagated on their platforms, they should pull them down. If they can pull down tweets from the President of the United States, they can pull down this gumph, and they should.
Well, the amount of things that go around Facebook every day, and you can hear it come out at every barbecue, at every dinner party. It's sprouted.
Yes.
I know. It's repeated back to you.
People can be worried about these things, and people who maybe haven't read deeply into it can be persuaded by it. So, I mean, there's a real responsibility for this sort of stuff. I read stuff last night about vaccines being a front for injecting silicon chips into people's bodies so governments can trace them. I mean, really, this sort of stuff should not be allowed to be put onto social media, because it does persuade people, unfortunately.
As millions across the country continue to be vaccinated, some people who don't want the shot are buying fake CDC vaccination cards. Investigators say there's a huge market for the counterfeit cards and that some of the fakes are quite convincing. Health experts say this poses all sorts of health risks for those who are playing by the rules. Nick Davison with DHEC says if someone's caught with a fake vaccination card, he or she could be in big-time legal trouble.
Certainly, the falsification of any government document would certainly be considered fraud, and that individual could be criminally prosecuted. And the same is likely true at the federal level for federal documents. So there are certainly likely criminal repercussions to doing something like that. And I think I would be more concerned if we were talking about I'm certainly concerned about it, don't want it to happen, but certainly would be more concerned if we were looking at some sort of a national passport, something that would grant access to individuals into a certain facility.
Tonight, the FBI and the Department of Health and Human Services are both investigating the selling of fake vaccination cards on various social media sites.
We have team coverage right now on the recovery. Let's begin with 13 Investigates reporter Joe Bartels, who explains Wynn Resorts is not messing around with their workers. Their message: get the COVID vaccine or prepare to prove and pay for virus testing. Joe.
Yeah, Todd, Tricia, that memo to all Wynn Resort employees really spells it out. Take a live look at the resort on this very windy Thursday afternoon. The company says it is not requiring employees to get the vaccine, but if they are unwilling or medically cannot get the shot, they will have to undergo weekly COVID testing on their own time and expense if done on property. 13 Investigates learned just hours ago about 60% of Wynn Las Vegas employees have been vaccinated so far. Now, according to this internal memo obtained by 13 Investigates, employees who have been vaccinated will be asked to submit proof by April 25th. It goes on to say employees who choose not to or are unable to be vaccinated will be required to show proof of a negative COVID-19 test each week. The testing will be done on the employee's private time and at their own expense. It notes on-site COVID testing is available for $15 per test, and free testing is available at the Southern Nevada Health District. The Wynn put out a video to their employees about the benefits of getting the shot.
I'm so excited for us to be over 100% in the hotel.
Guests know that employees at the Wynn are getting vaccinated. It's going to want to bring them here.
I can't wait till everyone's been vaccinated and we're back to normal.
And the CEO also released a video explaining the rationale behind this new policy. They also say they want Las Vegas to be the absolute safest destination for visitors possible. And they also noted that authorities have noted that occupancy levels will not be increased specifically for casinos or hotels until there is vaccinations, more wide vaccinations for employees. Reporting live, Joe Bartels, 13 Action News.
So more colleges and universities have decided to mandate COVID-19 vaccines for students. That includes Roger Williams and Brown University, along with a number of others all over the region. Kayla Fish joins us now live in Providence with the latest announcement and what students are saying about this.
Well, Northeastern University is joining a growing list of schools, including Brown University behind me, that are deciding to require students to get the COVID-19 vaccine before returning to in-person classes in the fall. Now, Northeastern, which is based in Boston, won't be distributing the vaccine. Instead, it's given students 5 months to get it on their own before returning to campus. There are medical and religious exceptions, and as 12 News previously reported, Brown University and Roger Williams have made the same decision, requiring students to be vaccinated ahead of the fall semester. Many Northeastern students support the school's decision, saying it will help get back to normal.
It's important that everyone is kind of vaccinated so that everyone feels safe all the time.
The option is you don't have to get the vaccine, but to get back to campus you do.
I don't think anyone on campus is really going to be having that issue.
Everyone wants to go back to normal.
We're required to get all those other vaccines. I don't see why this one is any different.
Something you buy into when you are part of a society, and it's for the greater good.
Now, as we told you earlier this morning, Rhode Island lawmakers are discussing a bill that would prevent people who refuse to get the COVID-19 vaccine from being discriminated against. That bill has been held for further study. Live in Providence this morning, I'm Kayla Fish, 12 News.